Retro Rob plays everything.
Hey, Rob here, and this is my Atari 8 Flashback Gold. Atari Flashback 8 Gold. Yeah. Unboxing and first impressions video. Yeah, I've had a few of these flashbacks. I think At Games has done a generally good job on them, much better than they've done with the Genesis stuff, which I think has been pretty generally awful and cheap, to tell you the truth. Except for the handheld. I like the handheld quite a bit. But anyway, I think the Ataris have been pretty good, except for when they did wireless controllers. I thought those pretty much generally sucked. Supposedly, this one's much better with its 2.4 gigahertz range wireless. We'll definitely be testing that out in this video. If you are a fan of gameplay video, there's definitely going to be some gameplay video later on in here. That said, I'm only going to do a few games on it. I'll probably be doing the next few episodes of Sorry Atari with this. So I'll make some comments during gameplay of that if I find anything worth commenting on. So anyway, looking at the package, it is in this beautiful gold. It's very nice looking. Display worthy, if you will. I'm going to be mad if there's no poster in this, by the way. Really ticked off. Side of the box shows you the features. I'm looking at a screen on the side to read it. Atari Flashback 8 Gold console, 120 built-in games, 2.4 gigahertz wireless controllers. Man, that's an Xbox 360 controller right there. AC power adapter, HDMI cable, and an instruction manual. That's right, this has HDMI output, which I have had several people on the station complain when I've done these in the past that they don't have HDMI out, and I never say anything about it. And that's largely because composite is so superior to the connections these originally had. I really didn't think it was worth mentioning, but supposedly this will be a lot clearer, so we'll see how that works. Here's some of the games that are available, not all of them. I gotta say that this has got to be their last flashback. I don't think you can do another flashback with the Atari 2600 at this point, because 120 games. How much more are you gonna do? I guess you could do one with every game on it, but good luck licensing it. But this has got a lot. One note on here, I do hear that the Frogger on this is an abnormality. I did look it up. It doesn't look like the supercharger version of Frogger either. It just looks like some other version of Frogger. It doesn't look quite like the arcade either to me. So I don't know what's up with that. It's definitely not the Atari 2600 version. It is definitely not the supercharger version, which I've seen. Don't know. But that's going to be one of the games they show. So, because that's kind of interesting. And some people complained about it. Not that I really care. I've got plenty of real Ataris. All right, let's start the unboxing and quit babbling, shall we? Unboxing time. As I mentioned earlier, the box is actually quite attractive in its goldness. The front looks very nice. Decent artwork on it. 40th anniversary logo down in the corner. Looking at the sides, there's nothing really exciting. I did show you this earlier, but just in case you skipped ahead, I'm going to show you this again. Plug and Play mentions the console, 120 built-in games, 2.4 gigahertz wireless controllers, AC power adapter, HDMI cable, and instruction manual. Okay, and on the back, of course, is all those games that we're, of course, buying it for. All right. Let's take a look here. There is just one little piece of tape holding the sucker closed, and I'm going to be really upset if it has a tendency to peel off the color on the box. That's really yeah, see, look at that. It peels up the gold foil on the edge of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it over so it doesn't do any more damage. That's annoying. I hate that. Here we go. Ooh. Dun dun dun. I think I said earlier that I was going to be really angry if there was not a poster. So apparently, Nah, it's not really a poster. It's an instruction manual with a poster on the front. But that said, it's a very basic manual on the back. But there is the, let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. There, wait. I'm going to go back a little bit. There, see, now I can't actually see the screen. This is the worst. I will take a picture of it and I will post it on top of this so you get a better idea of what's on there. On the back of here, we of course have the instruction manual. It's posterized. So far as I can see, unlike some of the earlier ones, there's not a description of the games that are included in the system. That said, it does have the manual actually on the game, so you can look at the manual before you play the game. So, I mean, it's not like that's a big deal. HDMI cable, it's basic. It's about, what, a 6-footer it looks like to me. Well constructed. It's not a cheapo one, fortunately. I hate when they ship cheapo ones with it. In fact, it's actually pretty decent plastics on it. So I would not consider it a throwaway. That said, if you're far from the TV, it might be a problem. Yeah, just your standard Famiclone-like adapter. It is a little bit heavier than the average Famiclone adapter, so that's nice. There's this little end. The controllers, there's no batteries in them. Right now I'll say offhand that they feel a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter than a real Atari controller. Hold up a second. Here we go. It is the tiniest bit smaller, isn't it? Yeah, just an oomph smaller. It's a little bit narrower. Can you see that? Here, let's hold it this way. It is just a tiny titch smaller. The contacts feel a little bit looser than an original Atari controller. The button plastics are, they're not bad. They're not totally top of the line either. I was kind of expecting, based on some of the earlier controllers, that it would be more of a top of the line feel. Like this is an OEM Atari controller, and even though Atari controllers were prone to breakdown, they had this feel to them. And this, it feels okay. It's not bad, but it's got a little bit of looseness here. We'll have to see how that plays out. And then here is the master controller, and it has buttons that are labeled that you can barely read. Let's see. I know this has a rewind capability. So there's select, standby, replay, and I think that's the reset button. So there's that. I'll compare these over to the Flashback 3 as well. I'll pull that out in a minute because I want to see how the console looks next to it too. Here it is, Flashback. Gold has a nice shiny front to it. You know, I like the look of the Flashbacks. They have kind of a nice retro design without going too retro. It's much smaller, of course, than an original Atari 2600, which, funny story, I don't actually have, I mean, I got Atari 2600s all over the place, but I don't have like the most classic model of it. I've got like the Junior, I've got a Gemini, and I've got a Sears Arcade too, but none of them are the original to actually compare this to. But I can compare it to the Junior, and I can compare it to the Flashback 3, so why don't we do that real quick. Okay, so on the controller, here is a Flashback 3 controller, here is the Flashback 8 controller. They actually are about the same as far as size, so I didn't realize when I did the 3 that the controller was so much smaller. Well, it wasn't that much smaller than the original Atari, but as you can see, it definitely is smaller than the original. Just a tiny titch. Not a lot. Anyway, the game stick does feel different. The 3 feels a bit more like the original Atari one than this does. This has almost a completely different feel. I'm gonna guess it probably has a little bit better switches in it, honestly. So it lasts a little bit longer. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't taken one apart though. So it feels a little bit more modern, a little bit more durable. But again, you know, it's not. It doesn't feel exactly like an original Atari one. The cases look exactly the same, basically, with a few minor changes. There's an LED right here, probably to indicate that it's connected to the controllers. The front looks pretty much exactly the same if you compare them. And of course, in the back, this one doesn't have the RCA cable connector in the back. And then, as far as scale goes, here is the Junior. And there is the Gold 8. So, still even smaller than a Junior. Not a lot smaller, a couple inches. Alright, so general construction around the board. How do I feel about this? It's very light. I mean, very light. So, even, yeah, amazingly light, really. So I kind of like my consoles a little bit heavier to feel like they're out of heavier plastics. That said, pressing around the edge here, I don't really feel any flex. The buttons feel okay. Yeah, they're pretty decent. There's no problems with these. Again, I mentioned on these controllers, the buttons feel a little bit more plasticky than in older. Oh, sorry, a little bit more plasticky than older versions of the Flashback, and that is absolutely true. Just feels a little bit, just a little bit more plasticky. I don't know if they use slightly different plastics or what, but it does feel different. Before we go on to fun and games, I should probably cover the ports and buttons on here. But I'm going to do it backwards. Buttons first. Power button, start button, left difficulty button, right difficulty button. These right here are not repeated on the controller. I'll show you that in a minute. And of course, the select button. If we look on the front, there are 2 ports. They use original Atari controllers. That means paddles as well. Because this doesn't come with paddles, you bring your own. I believe they sell them on their website too. Looking on the right side, there's nothing really there. On the back, that is where the power supply goes in. I showed you that a little bit earlier. And right here on the left side is the HDMI out jack, which is of course the most important feature of this. Well, maybe not the most important, but one of the most important features of this. And then on the bottom, really nothing but an Atari logo. It does have rubber feet though. That's kind of nice. Alright, joystick. Let's take a look at that real quick. If you look right here, there is a little reset button right there. There's a select button, a start button, and this is the rewind button. And I'll be going through this again a little bit more in detail during the playthrough. Alright, back to it. Okay, so something I forgot to mention. This thing takes AAA batteries, and that's 2 AAA batteries per controller, so that's 4 AAA batteries total. You know, it's not a big deal, but it kind of annoys me. AA batteries are much more common. Yeah, it's easy to get AAA batteries, but you're more likely to have AA batteries laying around than you are AAA batteries, so I would have preferred to use AA batteries. Finally, the other thing I want to note is the screw-on cover. Yep, that's right. You need to take out your old Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew and screw this in, which I think is pretty damn annoying. I hate when they do that. I really wish they would have just used a regular snap-on like pretty much everybody else. So a couple, one really just kind of a petty annoyance, and then the other one, that's kind of a pain. I mean, yeah, I realize at least it keeps it from popping out of the back, but I really don't like it when you gotta go find a screwdriver to go play a game. Alright, that was it. Back to the video. Gee, how excited are you about the Atari Flashback 8 Gold? As you can see, as excited as she can possibly get. Okay, so here we are on the main menu of the Atari Flashback 8 Gold. You'll notice on the left is a navigation pane. It says alphabetical, favorites, recent Atari games, Activision games, and about. You switch through them using this button right here. Alphabetical, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. Favorites, you can set these up yourself. I will show you how to do that in a little bit. Recent games, this is your most recently played. Very useful if you played a game and cannot remember what it was and you liked it and forgot to set it to favorites. Atari games, all games by Atari themselves. Activision games, all the games by Activision in the collection. Notice how there's no other brands. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's go back to About and back. All right, so alphabetical. This is by M Network, which is neither an Atari or an Activision game, so it will not show up on either one of those menus on the side. So you would have to add it to your favorites or have it as a reason for it to show up in a shortcut menu. So just note that there is no M Network menu available. Sad to say. Let's go basic navigation, right and left and up and down. Do what you would expect. They scroll through the menu and you will press fire to play. I'm going to go into Frostbite here because this is a good game example for the next thing I'm going to show you. Let's get in. Press fire to play the game. Notice that you can add to favorites from this menu. So if I press to the right, I'm going to defavorite it. Notice that little star right up in the corner over there. Once it's lit up, it's a favorite. If it's empty, it's not a favorite. You can scroll up and down with up and down, and of course you can go left to go back. Let's press fire and play a game, shall we? Okay, now I already have a saved game, so this will only show up if you happen to have a saved game. Now we're going to start a new one now so I can demonstrate some things to you. I'm going to hit the start so we can start a game. I'm going to start playing. Alright, I'm going to hit the rewind or the replay button. There we go. That was it. That's you can replay the last few seconds of gameplay. As far as I know, it has no other function. I've read the manual. So, if you did something really cool 5 seconds ago, great. It says 7 seconds, I think, in the manual. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it isn't. Alright, so let's go in. Get to the next part. Alright. Getting to the menu. You get to the main menu by hitting select and down at the same time. I highly recommend, even though it causes problems in game, press down first before doing it. Because if you hit select accidentally first, you will use the select button for the Atari. Not good, because that will kick you out of your game that you're trying to save. Alright, so default option, save game to slot 1 or whatever slot you have just loaded from. More save slots. As you can see, there are multiple. There are 10 save slots available. I'm going to save to slot 3. And there we go. I'm continuing. Now I'm going to show you what happens if things go awry with this. Hold on. I got to be able to go down. Alright, so I'm going to press menu and down at the same time. Maybe. And I'm going to go to more save game slots. I'm going to go to 1, and I'm going to save the game. And guess what? Can't play. That's because I hit the select button first. Even though, if you watch me, I hit them pretty much at the same time, it took the select button first. So it brought me to the 2600 select menu, and I just lost the game. So please, press down first, then select to get to the menu. Another thing I want to show you about the menu. Come on, there we go. Another thing I want to show you about the menu. Let's, there we go. Go to scan line filter. Okay, so you press fire and up, and boom, you've got scan lines. Return. So if you like to play, oh, I exited the game again. Darn it. Good news is that it holds that. It holds the scan lines, so you're okay. Let's just start a new game here. So here is scan lines on here. and it looks okay. Hit start here. Boop, there we go. Give it a second. It looks okay. I've never really liked the scanline effect when it's faked on a monitor. I'm okay with looking at it on a CRT. No problem there. I actually like CRTs quite a bit. But I just don't like fake scan lines all that much. It's just not my thing. So I don't do it. But anyway, you can press down and select. Or I'm sorry. And select. Yeah. Select to get into that menu. Whew. Lot of stuff to cover. Sorry. Okay, so let's hit select to exit this game now, and we're back at the main menu. Go back, and there we go. For the most part, I found that the games played pretty much as I expected them to or remember them playing. A couple exceptions, of course, is that some of the games that were paddle only now play with a joystick kind of poorly, but let's go to W here. Hold on a second. Way down there. Okay, yeah, Warlords, which I put on favorites so I could go back to this, but didn't. All right, so if I go into Warlords, originally this was a paddle only game, but as you can see, I can play it with a joystick. Pretty nice, I guess, if you want to play it with a joystick. Now, I could, of course, plug my original paddles in here because the original sticks will work with this, and it does support your original paddles, so note that you can do that if you'd like, and that is definitely the way to play games like this. Oop. Back to the menu and exit game. Not all games are supported by the save feature, by the way. I forgot to mention that while I was saving before. Let's look at Yar's Revenge. Note that there are some unreleased games on here too. Well, I got a save game in here? Yeah, I do have a save game in here. Nice. Yar's Revenge. Nice game. I like this game. Never played it when I was a kid either. I had a friend that told me it was the greatest game ever. Just never bothered to play it. But I gotta tell you, the joystick, which I had some questions about, is darn responsive. It is really, really good. I've had no complaints about this joystick. In fact, I probably would be perfectly happy playing it with this and not even bothering to plug mine in. Really, really nice little controller. Feels pretty durable. I was a little bit worried about the play action on it, but no, it's pretty good. Okay, so let's talk us some Frogger and Space Invaders, because those are completely different versions from the one you will remember. So let's do... Oh, if I knew alphabetical order, this would be really easy, but you know. All right, Frogger. Notice how it says Parker Brothers on it. This is absolutely not Parker Brothers Frogger. This is one that's actually made specifically for this hardware. It is a one-of-a-kind version. As such, it does not support the save function or the recovery function of the Flashback system. That's right, because it's made for the Flashback, it doesn't support the features of the Flashback. Figure that one out. That said, it's a pretty competent version. Note that there is no music. That, I guess, is due to licensing. I'm not real privy to what's going on there, but apparently they ripped it off of a Japanese kids show or something, and they cannot actually use it anymore, which is, I hate to say it, it's kind of stupid. The fact is that anything from this time period, really, the recreation of the fidelity of some kind of original music is so not there that I think it boggles the mind that anybody would attempt to actually apply copyright law to it. So it's annoying, you know, but whatever. The state of copyright, man, I'm playing terribly. The state of copyright in this world right now is just insane. It's a little too much. Ooh, played terribly. But I wasn't really focusing. I was focusing on the thing that I was saying that was at least mostly true. All right, let's go back to the main menu. But anyway, yeah, this Frogger is completely not the supercharger version, not the Atari 2600 Parker Brothers version, and would not run on a real Atari. It was just made for this hardware. Let's go back to the main menu. Again, looking at my menu buttons, get used to that. You're going to have to do that if you buy one of these. Let's exit again. See how there is no save function. All right, back to the menu. Man, let's go look at Space Invaders. This one was just done to be cool, I think. There we go. And I don't really see anything terribly wrong with doing this on these. I mean, yeah, it would have been nicer, though, had they actually included the original versions with it. That would have been really pretty darn nice, so that you can compare them. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. That said, quite a competent version of Space Invaders now, isn't it? Ah, die. I'm missing you. Come on. Nice. That said, the original Atari 2600 version of Space Invaders was quite nice too. No complaints with that one either. It was a really good port. So, yeah. Don't expect too much more exciting to go on here. This ain't no Galaga. Alright. Remember, select button down, and notice how this one doesn't save either because it's not an original game. And hit exit game. Okay, so how did I feel about the Atari Flashback 8 Gold? Well, mixed feelings about it, actually. I like the hardware. I like the fact the cables are decent. I know, doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you ever got a really crappy, flimsy HDMI cable, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's nice to have a good thick one that looks like it's not going to fall apart. The console is built just like the other Flashbacks, which is pretty good. It's a light console, but it's small and it's well built, so there's no real problems. There are no real flex, or it feels okay. It doesn't feel cheap, but it doesn't feel like like an Xbox, but it doesn't have as many parts in it either. As far as the controller goes, this thing far exceeded expectations. Now, you have the option on this to plug in your own Atari 2600 controllers, which is a big deal for me. That's nice because I have a lot of different Atari controllers I like to test out. I like that, but you know what? There's no reason not to use this. They have got Wi-Fi connected controllers down now. This thing worked perfectly no matter where I placed the console. I tested it up to about 10, maybe 15 feet, and it worked just fine. Again, your conditions may vary. You might get more, you might get less, depending on whether you live in the city or the county. Sorry about the lighting. I liked the menu system. I like the fact that you have a favorite system. I like that it has a recents menu, so you can see what you recently played. I really like those things about it, and I like the presentation of the menu. Looks really, really nice to me. It's pretty decent. My one big negative would be that I really wish instead of this rewind button, they just would have made a generic menu button for in-game menus, because one of the big problems is when you try to save a game, you will sometimes exit using the select button because it's select down to do this. Sorry, I'm actually moving it on the screen. That is a big deal. It would have been much better if they would have just had you hit this button and you could use that 5-second replay, which is, it It's cool if you want to see if like a bullet actually hit you, or if your friend actually made a goal on you, or whether the game was kind of glitching. But it's not that useful of a feature. That save feature, however, is downright awesome, and unfortunately it is somewhat flawed because of the way that they actually implemented it with the button system. Finally, on the price, these do go for $70. I think it's a little bit high. I think if this was like $55, it would be an awesome deal, especially with the games included. Like I said, it didn't have my favorite game, which is Spider Fighter, but that's okay. It has a lot of really great games on it, and most average gamers are going to love it. Of course, finally, it does not include an SD card, so you can't load your own games on like the tiny handheld. All in all, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it's going to be a conditional thumbs up. If you can find it, if you can find it a little bit cheaper than $70, I think you're going to like it a lot better than if you pay the full $70 for it. If it was $50, it would be great. All right, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe for more, and invite your friends. Say, hey, Rob, he's a really nice guy when he's not drinking.
Retro Rob's gaming videos.